Why is it so hard to please a narcissist? Why is it that no matter what you do, they are never happy? What is it that they actually want? Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions on my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. I think this is a really important subject because a lot of us can get stuck for a very long time and spend a lot of energy trying to make narcissists happy and trying to figure out what exactly it is that they want. And I think that the point that we miss as we are on this endless hamster wheel is that narcissists don't really want anything that is definable. Narcissists don't really know what they want. And you can see this in a lot of different scenarios. You can try to do things in a way that make the narcissist happy. And you can take all of their feedback and really try to interpret what they've told you. Try to remember all the things that they've said and just run yourself into the ground trying to figure out exactly what it is that they want so that they'll be happy and not abusive towards you. And sometimes it seems like we've hit that mark. Sometimes it seems like they are happy with what we're doing, but then you can actually do something in exactly the same way you did it yesterday, and they will perceive it in a completely different way. Yesterday it was fine, today it's awful, and you're a terrible person for doing it that way. But they can't really tell you why that is specifically because there is no specific reason. And this can drive us insane because it doesn't make any sense. Sometimes they're upset for no particular reason. You don't even know what it is that you supposedly did wrong. And the more that you try to communicate with them, the more upset they get. I think I've used several times the example of leaving your shoes on the wrong side of the door because it really can be that petty. And I remember times when there were things that were very similar to that, where I was, quote, leaving my shoes on the wrong side of the door. Just suddenly, out of the blue, with no warning, being yelled at and insulted and criticized and just being hit with incredible rage for having left my shoes in the wrong place. And also being told things like, I've told you 1,000 times. How many times do I have to tell you? Why don't you ever listen? And it's very confusing because you think, I don't remember ever being told to put my shoes there, or I have put my shoes in the same place every day for a year. And he never was upset about it before, but now he's saying that he's asked me 1,000 times and I don't remember any of that. And as confusing as that is, and as much as you can think, well, maybe I really just didn't hear him. Maybe he really did ask me 1,000 times to put my shoes somewhere else. The thing that makes it even crazier is that once you start putting your shoes in this supposed place that you've been told 1,000 times to put your shoes, you think, okay, maybe I just wasn't listening before, but now I've got it right. This is what he actually wants. He wants my shoes here, and this will make him happy because he very clearly told me that. Words cannot describe how discouraging it is to think you're doing it right now, to think that you finally got it figured out, only to maybe a week or a month or maybe months later suddenly be yelled at again and insulted and criticized because you're still not doing it right. And then to be made to feel that it's because you aren't listening, because you don't get it, because you don't care enough, that something's wrong with you, that you can't understand enough to do a simple thing like put your shoes in the right place. You're in this constant state of trying not to set someone off. So you're not only walking on eggshells, trying to avoid upsetting them, you're trying to understand what it is that they want. And a narcissist's expectations are always doomed to failure. A narcissist is doomed to be disappointed. Disappointment is part of a narcissistic pathology because narcissists' expectations cannot be met. But what's important to understand in a narcissistic relationship is that in the narcissist's mind, it is your job to figure out what it is that they want. If you were to ask them, what is it that you actually want? And you were to give them a pad of paper, here, write down what you want. First of all, they never would do it. They would find a way around that. But if you could force them to do it, they really wouldn't be able to write anything down because they really don't know what it is that they want. And it is your job, in their mind, it is your job to figure that out. When you enter into a relationship with a narcissistic person, you are making certain agreements that you are unaware of. And one of them is to carry all of the emotional baggage of the narcissist. You are to carry all of their shame, and you are to take responsibility for their happiness. And make no mistake that if they are not feeling happy, that is your fault, and they are angry at you for not having figured it out yet. So this is why they can just become angry for no particular reason. This is why they can just erupt in rage over something that was fine yesterday, over something that they never actually cared about until this moment, because it's never really about the thing that they're yelling about. It's about the fact that you haven't taken perfect care of their emotional world yet. And I say narcissists don't know what they want because they're not really consciously aware of this. They just know that they feel bad. They just know that they feel uneasy. They feel empty. And somehow they have to make that your fault. Because if they really had the courage to stop and look at the real reasons that they felt that way, then they would have to do something about it. They'd have to take accountability for how they feel. And they don't want to do that. It's much easier to dump the responsibility onto you. You are responsible for carrying their shame. You are responsible for validating them or giving them what we call supply. You are responsible for making them feel important and powerful. You are responsible for taking the blame for any problems that the two of you might have. You're responsible to entertain them, which makes it your fault when they're bored. You are responsible for listening to every single thing they could ever want to say. You're responsible for managing their ego. You are supposed to fill the void, and they have a giant, vast void inside of them. You're responsible for filling that. You're responsible for figuring out how. So it isn't that you put your shoes on the wrong side of the door. It's that the place that you put your shoes didn't magically make them feel better about themselves. They're still in a bad mood today. They still feel empty and bored inside, and it's your fault. And if they can fool themselves into believing that by blaming it all on where you put your shoes, then that's what they're going to do. They also might complain about things just to hurt you out of spite, to get even with you for not magically making them feel good about themselves. They are disappointed in you when they don't feel good about themselves. So maybe they will complain about your cooking, or complain about the way you look, or complain about the way you, did anything. They'll complain about it because they know it makes you feel bad, and it's really a way to get even with you. It's out of spite. It's to punish you for not magically making them feel good about themselves. And that's why it might not quite make sense. How come the way I mopped the floor last week was just fine, but now it's terrible and I'm an awful person? Well, it's because this week they don't feel good about themselves, and last week they were feeling okay. And because that's your fault, we're going to use something that you just put a lot of effort into and crap all over it so that you'll feel bad, so that you can have your rightful punishment for not making them feel great. They are disappointed in you because you are human. They are disappointed in you because you don't have the power to make someone else feel great all the time. They are disappointed in you for that, and they are going to punish you for it, and they're going to project that disappointment onto anything that they can find. So when you waste a lot of time trying to communicate with a narcissist and trying to understand what it is that they want from you, what you really aren't seeing is that the reason that they can't give you a straight answer isn't so much that they're consciously, purposefully trying to drive you crazy. It's that they don't know what they want. not on a conscious level anyway, but they do know that whatever it is they want, you haven't given it to them. In reality, if they had any depth or any courage to search themselves at all, what they would find is that what they really want is the ability to conquer their own demons, the ability to shut those voices up in their head that are constantly telling them horrible things about themselves. Narcissists have a brutal, vicious superego that is constantly telling them how terrible they really are, how unworthy they are of anything. And I know that this is something a lot of people just flat out don't believe. If you are someone that doesn't believe that narcissists are actually full of shame, I encourage you to watch my video, Yes, Narcissists Hate Themselves, where I go into detail about how you can see for yourself all the signs that narcissists actually disdain themselves. And those feelings of self-hatred and those horrible voices of self-loathing and criticism that are constantly ringing in the back of their head, that creates this emptiness, this great void within them, and this lack of grounding, this lack of sense of identity is really what they're running away from. What they really want is a sense of real purpose, is fulfillment, is a solid, stable sense of identity, but that's something that they really can never have. That's something that they would have to have the courage to be honest with themselves first. And that's something that the narcissism itself protects them from ever having to face. They are in a constant state of trying to prove to this awful voice in the back of their head that they're not all of the things that this voice is constantly telling them they are. And they're so preoccupied with that they can never really step back and look at the truth, because by the time they're finally able to do that, if they ever were, they have probably done so many things and really just built this shame cycle up so big that it becomes more and more and more difficult to really look at themselves the more time that goes by. And there is no way for them to truly solve their problems without taking an honest look at who they are and what they've done, and to face all of the things that they've done in their life up to that point. And these are emotionally fragile people to start with. These aren't people that really have what it takes to have the strength to take an honest look at themselves. And I think there actually are some that have been able to do this, but it's very rare and it's very, very difficult. They would much rather make this your job. They are constantly chasing the end of a rainbow, and it's your job to help them catch it. So don't expect them to be able to rationally, coherently explain what it is they want from you. It goes much too deep for even them to understand. They want to stop feeling ashamed of themselves, but they can never stop and take an honest look at who they are for long enough to be able to acknowledge that. You are supposed to mask that for them. You are supposed to magically make all of that go away. You are supposed to solve that problem. You are supposed to provide them with a way to avoid having to face any of those inner demons or having to have any kind of honesty with themselves about who they are and what it is that they really want out of life. And when you fail to do that, as you inevitably will, they're going to become angry and they're going to pretend that it's because you left your shoes on the wrong side of the door. This is a battle you can never win because it's not your battle to fight. You cannot solve their problems no matter how much they imagine that it's your job to do so. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and you would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.